episode of the Best Bets show here on the Field of 68. As always, we are presented by our wonderful sponsors at BetRivers. We are the three-man weave. I'm Jim Root. I'm flanked by Matt Cox, Kai McEwen, who is begrudgingly wearing his spinny hat today, Mr. Fancy Hair. Yeah, it's Spinny Saturday, guys. We got a lot to get to. So many games on the slate, 150. Whew. Wow. Hard to keep up with that many. Yep. Let's start quick with a takeaway. Kai, I'm going to go to you first with your virtual background. That's always messing with your spinny hat. What do you got for us?
How about Siena? How about the Saints? They came marching in.
And the Saints.
They beat Iona in a big rivalry game. Way to go, Saints. Way to go, Siena. The MAC is crazy per usual. Iona has lost 2 in a row, Matthew. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing else to add. I mean, here's my more macro take. How you know me, Matty Macros. Road teams, road warriors. How about this, Jim? 71-48 Wednesday and Thursday road teams against the spread. Look last night, every road team in a decently tough spot competed and or won outright. So I think
Fresno State,
except for Fresno State, but you look at St. Bonaventure, you look at Nevada. I guess the Iona thing is an exception to the rule, but I think road teams are going to be feisty going forward down the stretch. Just home court, a little bit of a demise across the board. Obviously, situational factors apply, but just in general, home court lacks the juice. It seems that it once did.
We'll see. We will see about that today, Matthew. You know, sometimes those macro trends have little spikes and dips. So curious to see how that works out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going back to Thursday real quick to give a shout out to Michigan for absolutely putting it on Purdue, giving UNC their first quad 1 win of the season, really helping out a lot of different teams, helping out Arizona with Michigan amping up their net rating. So shout out to the Wolverines getting themselves back in the tournament picture, finally trending to where the predictive rankings had them for a while and catching up to everybody else who's like, that team actually stinks. Okay, let's get into today's slate. I know there's going to be a bajillion questions.
Oh, yeah.
Starting with the rundown, UCLA at USC, the battle for LA. Matt, I'm going to start with you here. Do you think the Trojans and their length, their size, Mr. Broken Nose Mobley going to be wearing a mask in this one?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think he is able to help overcome the shot making of UCLA?
I kind of think so. So UCLA opened at -2.5 and now it's sitting at -2. You know what? You're taking a bus ride across town there to Compton, USC. Totals at 137. I thought both are pretty sharp, Kai. I have nothing profound to add on this game. I would lean, the Bruins, I think, but I think the numbers on both regards, side and total, are pretty sharp.
First matchup for the LA schools this year. I think UCLA is legit, guys. I think USC is kind of a fraud. Life and death with Pacific. I know Isaiah Mobley was out, but that's ridiculous. Gonzaga beat them by 40 next game. Mobley's probable today, folks, by the way. Obviously huge. I think he plays. USC's defense hasn't been very good in league play, but UCLA hasn't been shooting the ball very well. If they have to rely on basket attack and Juzang mid-range bailouts, it could be a close game. I tend to lean towards UCLA. That Galen Center, there's nothing to it, the home court, Jim.
Yeah, there's no travel, really. I mean, I guess getting across LA is never the easiest thing in the world.
Traffic.
From Westwood to Hollywood there or whatever. But I'm with UCLA, too. I just think they're better. I think USC has played a fairly softish schedule. Their big wins are not big wins. Like, they have not beat a team anywhere near UCLA's caliber. Sort of hung around with Arizona, but Tubelis was definitely banged up for that one. And I just don't buy the Galen Center home being much of an advantage. So I actually think UCLA maybe a decent bet here. This is more gut than it is number, I will say. So take that as you will, but leaning towards the Bruins for sure.
Yeah, KenPom has it as the 88th best home court, which I found to be pretty shocking. Now, that's probably not adjusting for the situational fact that you're right. UCLA is coming from across town, so probably some good value there.
Maybe it plays up well when the mountain teams are coming in town.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
All right, we're moving on down. I mentioned the old Wolverines from Michigan and their surge going on right now. Covered at Purdue and then won against Penn State and murdered Purdue, as we mentioned. Now they're hosting Ohio State. So that's their 4th game in 8 days. Kai, do we think Michigan can keep it rolling as a slight home favorite here against the Buckeyes? And do we think Diabate can guard EJ Liddell?
In my head, it's a good matchup for him. He's athletic. He's big. Michigan jumped 20 spots in KenPom after that 24-point win to Purdue. Their resume, Jim, is at large caliber. It looks pretty decent now. Another Q1 win would likely solidify them in the field as of now. Ohio State, Matt, is off that loss to Rutgers. That was on the road. All 4 Big Ten losses for Ohio State are on the road. They're 3-5 against the spread on the road. Both teams, in my opinion, have matchups that can slow down their stars. Jim mentioned Diabate and Liddell. I think Ohio State has plenty of size to slow down Dickinson. So the under here seems like a solid play, Matt. The pace should be lower. Both teams playing slower in conference. But Ohio State's been a major over team this year, so that kind of scares me a bit. I guess I'm leaning towards Michigan with Ohio State on the road here.
Yeah, Ohio State kind of has the same thing going that they had last year, where it's like, why is the offense amazing? The defense just okay. Like, we had questions about the offense last year, then everyone just made shots and their offense was awesome. This year, it's up to 4th nationally. Defense is down to 82nd nationally. In 10th in the Big Ten.
We thought that was the Dwayne Washington effect, but no.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So kind of an odd, lopsided, lovely situation, Kai, as you call it there. Jim, I do lean Michigan. I know the spot's not ideal given the monster Purdue won in the 4th game in 7 or 8 days. And I don't think home court's going to actually be that strong, even though our guy Stuckey just talked about how Michigan's been an absolute wagon at home against the spread the last 2 seasons. I do think it's still short, though. I would lean Michigan minus 2.5. I'd probably buy the hook to 2 minus 20 if you had to hop in, but love buying hooks. I'm Matty hooks today.
Don't buy the hook.
Love buying hooks. 2, 3, and 5 key numbers. Write it down, kids. Jim, your thoughts?
Yeah, they're not. Basketball doesn't have key numbers. I'm not with that. That is an internal wheat debate that has raged for centuries. I'm with Kai. I kind of lean towards the under. However, Ohio State's been a bad under team on the road. Their defense is much worse on the road. I think Bart Torvik, when you filter for road games, it's 167th. So really, really bad. That is an issue. But the matchup concerns, I'm with that. I think that helps the under. Although Dickinson last year, I think I just looked 21-8 and 22-9 against Ohio State's front court. But they do have Brunk to throw at him this year. Zed Key's getting more minutes this year. It's not going to be just the Kyle Young experience up front against Hunter Dickinson. So nothing for me inside, slightly to the under, but it makes me cringe because of what Ohio State's done on the road so far this year. All right, we'll keep moving. An early tip here. This one's coming up in just under 40 minutes. Texas at Baylor, as announced by Talia Goodman. LJ Cryer is not playing in this one. He will continue to be out for the Baylor Bears. Their leading scorer, definitely an important part of their offense. Meanwhile, Texas is coming off that big Kansas win. They're feeling themselves a little bit. Matt, was that the monkey off their back that they needed of, okay, we can actually come together as a team and be elite. We got that elite win. Or was that a little more of an aberration and now they're in trouble going on the road against the Bears?
Torn here. Kyle, what are your thoughts? I have a few things written down in this game. You go first.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yes.
Well, Texas is not good on the road. 2-5 against the spread on the road. Their defense, though,
very good.
Rocks. They're 5th in the country in points per possession allowed in pick and roll. Baylor uses that a lot. Texas also shuts down transition. However, Texas does not handle the ball well, and Baylor gets out in transition mainly by causing turnovers. If Texas cannot handle the ball, Baylor's going to run on them all day. However, again, 2 howevers in my sentence, Matt. LJ Cryer, 2-2 straight up, 1-3 against the spread without him in the lineup. He matters a lot here. I think under is my favorite play in this matchup. With him out, with Texas wanting to slow it down, playing good defense, Matt.
However, Stephen A. Yep.
I'm the Stephen A. at the 3-man weave.
You are hot take Smith. You are. I like Baylor, Jim. I think this is a great time now. Maybe you catch that spread down around 5 with the Cryer news. Pushed it down to a key number, Jim, because they do exist. 2, 3, and 5.
Stop
Buy
it.
the hook to 5 if you can. Cryer's good, no question, but I still think Flagler and Akinjo back, and you got Sohan back. I mean, they're just still healthier than they have been even without Cryer. I think it's a great spot for Baylor. I just don't like Texas, Jim. I've watched them. The offense I don't trust. The defense is good, not great. It doesn't have the same dominating, suffocating feel that like when I watched Texas Tech or some of Beard's defenses when he was at Tech in their heyday. I just don't get that same vibe with this Texas defense. As good as they've been, numbers don't support that, but just the eye test tells me something different.
Yeah, I don't like the eye test on their offense. That's for sure. They put up nearly 80 against Kansas, but some of it felt a little fluky. I mean, the banked 3 late was definitely enormous for them. I kind of lean towards Baylor on the side and the bounce back, but under is the actual bet that I made on this game. I think Cryer being out should be a huge help to that. Texas probably will try to keep this slowed down. They don't want to get running with the way Baylor has been in transition this year. and last year, to be honest. All right. Speaking of transition, guys, this could be a track meet in Tuscaloosa. We've got Arkansas headed to Alabama. Arkansas coming off the monster win over Alabama's hated rival, number 1 Auburn Tigers. Does that lead to a letdown spot? Man, I want to kick it to Kai, but I don't know. Maybe Matt wants this first at ball hog.
No, go Kai first.
Yeah.
Go.
Man, Matt's deferring a lot today. Yeah.
Save the best takes for last.
Well, yeah, Arkansas is thriving, man. They've won 9 straight. They're 8-1 against the spread in that stretch. So they're covering and they're winning. It's been impressive. They're certainly punching back at that early failure of the season. And Alabama got back on the horse against Ole Miss after that gauntlet 3-game stretch. They looked dominant in that game.
Arkansas make 65% from 3 games.
That helps.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been shooting terribly all year, so we knew it was going to regress to the mean there. Matt, Arkansas is not good on the road, but they've been better this season. They're actually 3-2 against the spread on the road. They also have the number 1 defense in the SEC in conference play and been shutting down the 3-point line. Obviously key against Alabama. Alabama's defense has not been good in conference. I expect a pretty high scoring affair here. I lean towards the over, despite the points being to the moon right now.
Yeah, it's 157.5. It's come down to -5, -4.5 actually in some places. I think this is their game, Jim. Not a sell high of Arkansas per se, because I think we all agree that Arkansas is they're now what we thought they would be, maybe a little better. I mean, to kind of you can nitpick where you have them in your power ranking totem pole, but in general, I think they've kind of found their level, so to speak. And we've seen Bama consistently deliver in these big games at home. Now they shot 3 of 100 from 3 against Kentucky. And we keep saying the same thing, like, will Bama finally make shots? Will they finally make shots? And I think today sets up for a good spot for them to do so. And they can get some interior scoring as well. I know Jalen Williams has been a monster inside for Pig Suey, but I think Arkansas or Bama can get to the rim, score inside, supplement their outside shooting as well.
Yeah, this isn't like a monster shot blocking team that I think is Alabama's kryptonite, because they're not taking any mid-rangers. You know, when they step inside the arc, they're trying to get all the way to the rim. And Arkansas isn't Auburn in that regard. They're not even quite Kentucky in that regard in the way they block shots. So maybe they can find some fruitful measures inside. And yeah, Arkansas, Kai, you mentioned number 1 D in league play, very much helped by the 3-point shooting against them, only 30%. I tend to think that ticks up as well. And Matt was talking about the potential great spot for Auburn's or for Alabama's shooting. Like I said, they had that great shooting performance last game. Maybe they continue to ride it, a la Virginia Tech, who's just completely a fireball right now. So I'm leaning towards Alabama there in the letdown spot. Again, not like Arkansas is flying too high. It's just more the spot coming off such a massive victory. All right, let's go to Chat Mob. I believe Kai is rallying the questions. Hey. Folks in the chat, make sure to hit that like button. It's a big old Saturday show. Let's hit 100 likes today. That'd be wonderful if we could get there. I've already hit the like button, so everybody else can too. Let's smash it.
So have I. Hey guys, we're going to start with a twofer from Tim because both these games tip at 11 Central. Lafayette is going on the road to Lehigh. I have a lean in this game, so I'll just take it. I think Lehigh covers -4. Now, I've been fading Lafayette a lot, and sometimes to my detriment, but Lehigh is a solid team here. I think the number's a bit too short. I lean their way.
Big rivalry, by the way, for those unprivy to.
Big rivalry.
I actually hung out with 2 Lehigh grads in Arizona last weekend. How about that?
I like Lehigh too, Kai. I think you have the right side there.
Thanks, Matthew. Love when you say that.
Right? Knock on wood. There it is.
Well, Matt, what's the right side in this game? Because St. Joe's is playing UMass. 3-point spread in favor of the Minutemen.
Side, I can't tell you. Both teams are highly erratic, but over, Kai, I'll give you the right side on that one. I think it's a point bonanza. UMass scored 100 points on St. Joseph's last year in the A10 tournament, and I think it's a high possession, high scoring affair. So a lot of points, big total, but I think they get over it.
All right, Jim, Pat's lock today is Morehead State +3. Do you agree with that? They're playing against a
Murray State. Yeah,
my gosh.
That's scary. It's a scary lock. I'm not going to fully endorse it. I think this Murray team does get up for their big games. Look what they did to Belmont. They won at Memphis. They're just fantastic athletically, and they have perimeter shooting. It's a rare combination in the OVC. But Morehead has been feisty against Belmont in their 2 meetings. So perhaps he got the right side. I have no wager on that game side or total.
All right, Matthew, leg show, Portland and Loyola Marymount. Ooh. I believe the Lions have taken money. Yeah, they're up to -2. Up to -2. What do you think?
I did everything. I found every possible reason to make Portland favorite in this game. So I'm not surprised that LMU's taking money. I think it's, the spot favors them, but we have talked about this behind the scenes. LMU is in a tailspin, and Portland continues to impress and outpace our expectations. The coaching mismatch here is seismic. I would take the Pilots, Kai.
Yeah, I'm considering punching back as well.
All right, Jimmy. Arkansas State is playing South Alabama. I'm looking for a spread for you. Spread is boom, boom, boom. 6 points in favor of the Jaguars. Feels a touch high to me.
A little high. I like the over. I think Arkansas State's going to be a decent over team. South Alabama did bench Turbo Jones last game. He didn't play as much, came off the bench and played like 13 minutes. Turbo is obviously a good over player. It's in the name. He's a up-tempo point guard. So maybe that hurts not having him play as many minutes, but I still think the over is a decent bet there. I think that one's a shootout.
I agree.
Matt, that question was from Eric. He has another question, actually an ACC twofer here. Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Syracuse +8 on the road. I kind of lean towards the orange. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, kind of like the under. I don't think either team's going to keep shooting 75% from three. They're both on just absolute torrent runs shooting
good
downtown. But
freaking luck.
But I'm not going to bet it because I also know they get high quality shots and they actually have good shooters and nothing. There's like fluky about it. But I think they are shooting both like 55% from three their last 4 games.
No Jesse Edwards is bad for the under. Bad news. Best defender on Syracuse.
Only like viable interior stopgap in that zone. Yeah.
Jim, Miami going to Wake Forest. 7-point spread. Too big, or is Wake Forest just a wagon now?
It was a little too big, but I don't know about Jordan Miller for Miami. He missed last game. I think if he's in there, they're full strength. I would definitely lean towards the Canes. That just feels too high. But like you said, Wake Forest has been a wagon with Monsanto in the lineup. I think they've covered something like 6 of 7 with him in there. And I love Steve Forbes and Deacon, so I can't fully endorse that, especially with the injury questions for the Canes.
Matt, you were answering it a bit in the chat, but Davidson is going to Rhode Island. Some chat mob members think Davidson is a lock today at -3.5.
Nothing's a lock, as we said. There's no such thing as locks, but I do like Davidson. I think the spot sets up pretty well. We've seen them kind of take their foot off the gas pedal the last 2 games. In general, Jim, you had this point last show, I think. Davidson as a large favorite we don't like, but Davidson when it's closer to a pick'em, when the incentive is just to win the game, which in a game where one coach is awesome and one coach stinks, I definitely like Davey here.
They should run circles around him. My number didn't quite get there, but man, I wanted to bet Davidson here.
AJ asked about the VMI Citadel over. Yep, I think that's a great play. They scored. Yes. They go over most every single game. These two teams.
Balcom Bowl.
Indeed.
I like Citadel too. Little side. Big number for VMI. VMI -9? Is that what it is?
Yeah, 8 points.
High.
Yeah.
High.
Jim, William and Mary. This is from Ray. Ray is a twofer. Jim.
Kai, you take this one.
Okay, twofer in the Colonial here. I'll take this one. I like William and Mary +10.5 against James Madison. The Dukes are 2-8 against the spread last 10 games. Charles Spalding is still out. They have not been good without him in the lineup. Have been scoring very well. So William and Mary is my side in that one.
I think, Kyle, you said William and Mary's 9-3 against the spread in league play, and they were 0-11 non-con. Like they have found a total rejuvenation button.
Yeah, they flipped the switch. Okay, Jim, how about this Colonial game? Charleston is going to UNC Wilmington +2 Charleston.
Man, I liked Charleston preseason, and being a road dog here, I was kind of like, oh, the Cougars. But I just don't want to bet against Wilmington. I watched them play the Hofstra game, and I was like, they're just good. Like, this is a good team that didn't go away against a very solid Hofstra team that was making shots. So not touching that one, although I sort of lean towards Charleston just from a numerical sense, I guess. Yeah.
It's +1 at a lot of play. Yeah, it's come down a little bit. So if it was +2 or higher, I'd be tempted to hop in on Charlie. I agree.
All right, let's do these 3, and let's get back to the outline here. Matt, Ethan asks about Longwood going to North Carolina A&T. Implies that it's kind of short. Longwood -4, but Justin Hill, Leslie N. What do you think?
Yeah, you can't bet this without knowing that they're in my opinion. I mean, Longwood's been a wagon, but I think
they didn't matter last game. Yeah,
didn't matter. Right at this point, it's like who the hell matters? But I don't know. It seems like you're buying at an all-time high, I guess, if you're back in Longwood.
Jim, how about Holy Cross going to Bucknell? These questions come from Austin. Holy Cross +4.5.
Yeah, Bucknell's taking a little bit of money. I think I like Bucknell. I think they're the better terrible team in the Patriot. I think they're slightly better coached. Also potentially like the over. I think this one gets up and down. Bucknell's defense is bad. I like the Bison. They were up 15 last game and won by 2. They gave up a 15-2 run to end the game. It's more about how big they got up. I think Bucknell's better.
Yeah, I do too. And then Matthew, last one before we continue the rundown here. Bellarmine -3.5 on the road against North Alabama. Any feel for that game? It's an extra board. I know.
It is. I know. I don't look at those. I like the over. I think both teams can score. UNA sometimes likes to get up and down, and Bellarmine will take advantage of transition when it presents itself. And I don't trust UNA to defend that offense.
Great. Let's go back to the rundown, Jim.
Let's do it. Let's go to the Big East. Seton Hall headed to Villanova. This is a big one in the Big East race. The Wildcats trying to keep up with Providence. Wow, weird to say it that way. Bryce Aiken, we think, likely continues to be out here dealing with his concussion. Matt, is that enough to make the under a viable bet? We've seen without Aiken on the floor, the offense is worse, the defense is better, they play a little slower. It all points to the under. Is that enough for you to take it?
I did not take it, Jim. I think that's the right side. I have a side take in this one, though. I'm looking at Seton Hall. It's sitting at 9. I wouldn't take it anything less than 9. Early starts. Nova back at home. There's 2 starting guards, being Gillespie and Justin Moore. They've been reported as being not at 100%. Now, Kai, you mentioned that could be bogus because Justin Moore was awesome last game, but Gillespie did not practice yesterday. And Moore didn't practice. Gillespie was reported as being 75 to 80%. It's not a super deep team, especially in the backcourt. And again, I just like how Hall is trending. I could be trying to find something, needle in a haystack with the way they're playing, Jim. But, Richmond at the point of attack, I think their defense can hold up here. I think it plays to, like you said, a low scoring game, which will favor the underdog. So give me Hall and I guess the under too.
I'm not worried they're not practicing. I think that's just rest. I mean, great guard for Wisconsin said Brad Davison doesn't practice. He gets rest.
Sounds awesome. Just give him practice.
Yeah, it's just rest. Gillespie played 25 minutes. He had 4 fouls. That probably explains. He had 0 points and 10 rebounds. What a weird game last game. Moore played 35 minutes, 16 points. Nova won the first game in this matchup on the road. No Obiagu in that game. Probably pretty big against Eric Dixon, who has been awesome this year.
Incredible. He's been so good.
Without Bryce Aiken, I just can't back Seton Hall, man. 2-4 against the spread. They are 4-2 straight up, but the wins are St. John's twice, Creighton, Georgetown, and then Xavier, who hasn't looked very good at all. Spread's high, so leaning Hall on the number, but I cannot take him without Aiken.
Yeah, Villanova, I think, just out executes the Seton Hall team right now. And they don't have that. This kind of feels like a game where it'd be nice to have some irrational confidence shoot over the top of the condensed Villanova defense. So not having Aiken does hurt in that one. I'm not backing aside. All right, let's go to Indiana and Michigan State. Matthias, your alma mater, headed to East Lansing to the Breslin Center, taking on the Izzone. Indiana on the road has been a dicey proposition so far this year. They just suspended half their team because they were out smoking weed in Chicago. Great, good move for a bubble team there.
Smoking the reefer.
Matt, I hope you saw the player tweets of like,
yes,
when tough times happen, we get going or something. It's like, dude, this is completely self-caused. Like the adversity you're facing is created by you. Rally around each other. Cool. I kind of feel like it's garbage. I lean towards Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, let's just take the hearsay and speculation one step farther. I heard, many of us did, that there was some tattletaling within the team in terms of how those guys got caught.
We got a narc. We got a narc.
We got a rat in the mix, and I don't like that. I'm severely worried about the internal fissures. I'm sure, hey, Indiana fans in the chat, please call me out if you have better intel. That does concern me. I think the price is about right. Michigan State -4.5. As my guy Jack Stone points out, though, Kai, Dan Fife on the staff should know the Izzo playbook inside and out.
Yeah, true. Indiana's guys are back after that fun in Chicago. Hey, can't blame him. Chicago's an awesome city.
Hey, it was a good time, fellas. Had a great
Sparty 2 straight losses, guys, at Rutgers against Wisconsin. And a reminder, the game before, a 2-point win against Maryland, they probably should have lost. They just aren't that good. I'm going to keep beating that drum. They can be beat.
I was poking Matt with that argument for a while.
They can be beat. Indiana obviously lost 2 straight. The last one against Northwestern was self-caused. They're 1-6 against the spread on the road. That's not great. And Michigan State's a pretty tough place to play. I'm not sure Indiana can exploit Michigan State's ball handling woes. They have the worst turnover rate in the Big Ten. I don't think Indiana can really exploit that. So I lean Sparty here at home, but it's not strong.
Yeah, I lean Sparty too. No number edge here, but I just kind of looking at it. Indiana on the road's been poor. I think I hate saying this is a bad way to handicap, but Michigan State's going to play a good game at some point. They haven't been doing it lately. I think they bounce back from that Wisconsin loss at home. We get a little bit better effort. They have some bigs to neutralize TJD inside. Malik Hall is emerging as a real offensive weapon. Yeah, it would be Spartans or nothing for me here. All right, two more games on the outline, kind of in the mid-major realm. San Francisco at Santa Clara, a big one in the bubble world. The Dons heading on the road to Santa Clara. This is actually a Q1 opportunity for San Francisco. Santa Clara inside the top 75 of the net right now. This is essentially a pick 'em. The Dons -1. Kai, do you think they get the win that they so desperately need here?
Yeah, if they do, they're solid, man. They're in. That loss to Portland is a smudge on the resume, but they're allowed one, and this would be another Q1 win, like you said. Santa Clara has been awesome though lately. Matt, they're 6-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 7 games. Beat BYU, beat St. Mary's, and they're at home again against San Francisco, trying to complete the Trinity. The non-Gonzaga wins.
Trinity.
Game 1 reminder: 3-point game. Both teams shot really well at San Francisco. 173 points in that game. Jalen Williams could not be stopped. Bouye could not be stopped. My worry with San Francisco, Matt, is Santa Clara is one of the few teams that's able to bang with them inside with Masalski and Tape, match that front line. So I'm kind of scared about the Dons tonight.
Yeah, Don's also playing their 5th game in 9 days. They played last Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, and now playing again today. And the BYU game, they lost to Portland. And they just blew out Pepperdine, but I worry about their legs a little bit. But we know that team well. We know their staff well. I think the Dons are locked and loaded today, Jim. I think -1 is a cheap price. As good as Santa Clara's been, as good as our boy PJ Pipes has been in the backcourt. I do like our Dons.
Yeah, there's some matchup concerns. I think the one thing I've always looked at this Dons roster and said they're missing is a big athletic wing. And that's going to be an issue against Jalen Williams. He is a big athletic scoring wing for Santa Clara. Stopping him could be an issue. He had big games against BYU, who also lacks that kind of a rotational piece. So keeping an eye on that one. But I do think the Dons, just motivation spot, they have just a little more juice. Their backs are against the wall. They know what they need to do here. So leaning towards the Dons. That would be my pick there. All right, let's go to the SoCon showdown, guys. Chattanooga at Furman, #1 at #2. Chattanooga currently has a 2-game lead in the standings and has already beaten Furman once. So this is do or die for Furman. If they want a chance at the conference title, this is it. Line in the sand. Matt, does that mean we get desperate Paladins and they get to win? Or are you just saying, man, the matchup's tough? Chattanooga's got playmaking guards. They're a little bigger, more athletic. What are you leaning here?
Yeah, the matchup concerns me. Even without Hankton and D'Souza, I still think Nuga has a pretty seismic advantage up front. Just look at this from a pure handicapping standpoint. Yeah, so you're right. Furman lost by 2 in Chattanooga. That game closed -3.5. It's now flipped basically to -4.5 on the other side. So I think the price is pretty sharp. I think at that time we thought both teams rocked. We still think they both rocked today, Kai. So if you're betting on Furman or Nuga here, I think you have to have just like a gut feel for this. And I don't. I said, I lean Furman, but man, I think both these teams are awesome.
A rough stretch for both teams. Nuga lost to Samford, nearly lost twice to Mercer, and D'Souza probably still actually the chat mob said D'Souza's back in the lineup, which is huge.
Was he back today? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he's now what's interesting though is he can be exploited on defense. Furman goes 5 out and everyone can shoot. That's a problem, but inside on the other end, he has a huge advantage against them. We talked about Furman dropping 2 straight, and they're really desperate for a win, stay in the SoCon race. And Chattanooga won game 1 by 2 points. Furman has revenge on its mind. They also have the league's #1 offense and defense. It's a really good team, arguably the best team in the league. I think they're really up for this game. I lean towards Furman, even though it is 5 points right now.
Yeah, this number's too high for me. These teams are like equals to me. 5 is a lot. I think at the very least you get in a close game. So I would lean towards Chattanooga just because of that number, but certainly spot is like Furman desperate as we were saying. So play that one carefully. Let's go back to the chat mob. Let's round it out. We've got a little bit of time before we kick off questions here. Before we get to our best bets, Kai, what kind of games are people wondering about?
Rapid fire mode, guys. We got a lot. 2 tip-offs very, very soon. At Auburn and Texas A&M. Jim, #1 team in the country. Auburn, are they still the #1 team in the country?
They currently are. We don't have a new poll till Monday.
Yeah, they won't beat tomorrow.
I think Auburn smokes them. They're incredible against the spread at home. I believe 10-1. They get Zep Jasper back, who actually is important. We mentioned having an adult in the room in the backcourt. That is Zep Jasper. I think that's big for them. So I like the Tigers against the market.
Down to 12 too. I'm with you, Jim. Line feels short to me.
Matt, Creighton visiting Georgetown, -4 for the Jays. Seems short to you?
It does. We just got word, though, I believe, like 10 minutes ago that someone's out for Creighton. I'm blanking on who that is. One of their starters is out. It just came through the wire. Chat mob helped me out there. I stay away from me, Kai. It's a young team. I just don't trust them. It's a team I basically see on the slate and I pass because I think they're erratic.
Jim, NC State.
It'd be great to fade Georgetown. That team's
It would be. It sounds so great, doesn't it? It sounds so nice. Just
Jim, NC State at Pittsburgh, -1.5 for the Wolfpack on the road.
Under. I continue to back Pitt unders.
Yeah,
I think this will be a crawl. I mean, I know Ithiel Horton's back. That gives him a better offensive option, but this team really struggles to score inside the arc, and Duwona's back for NC State, giving them a little shot blocker. I think it's a slower game than anticipated and inefficient. So I still like Pitt unders.
Hey, Arthur Kaluma is the one who's out for Creighton. So, yeah, I think he matters.
That's big. Marquette is visiting Butler, -3.5. I've seen some really smart people on Butler. I don't trust them. I'd probably lean towards Marquette. Fondell has got a twofer. LaSalle, Richmond. Matt, I'm going to you for that one. Richmond -13.
Feels a bit high, and Richmond has a propensity to sort of kind of
lay eggs at home.
Yes, and lay eggs at home.
Yes.
Off situation where the Richmond beat the crap out of LaSalle at LaSalle. So I think you get a little bit of value here on the Explorers.
LaSalle sucks on the road too, though. So
I know that's right. Don't bet this game. That's the right take. Don't bet this game.
And Jim, for you, North Texas -5.5 at Rice.
Man, the first game was an utter blowout. I think it was 75-47 or something. North Texas just demolished them. Sort of lean towards North Texas doing it again. I think the way they suffocate the game and make it slow down and take away the 3-point line is tough on Rice's offense. So lean towards the mean green, but not super strong.
All right, a twofer from Ryan A. We got Weber State at Idaho. I lean towards Weber State. I don't buy this Idaho team still, and Weber's off a loss. Could be angry game for them.
Smoke them.
Jim, you usually like Gardner Webb in general. -15.5, too high for you for Chuck South?
It's a little high for how low the number is. Gardner Webb, I looked at this recently. Their defensive splits in conference are unbelievable. They're down to like a top 60 defense in the entire country. It makes zero sense. So in a kind of a slower half-court grinding game, Charleston Southern's playing fairly slow. Maybe lean towards the dog, but I'm not touching this game at all. I'm not betting it.
Matt, pretty big game here in the Big 12. TCU's +10.5 at Texas Tech. I'll let you figure out what the Fort Worth to Lubbock travel is in your head, but what do you like here?
I looked at some history between these two. Texas Tech has destroyed TCU in this matchup before. Now, again, new regime. The key thing here is Mike Miles is playing pretty huge. I think TCU anecdotally should be a pretty feisty underdog, and Texas Tech as a large favorite does not sit well with me. I would lean the horned frogs, Kai, the horny frogs.
Gardner Webb's defense is 34th in KenPom. 34th in the country.
I was not aware of
super
that.
athletic, but that's a little bit high.
Gardner Webb's gone under maybe 10 straight times, something like that. Under team for sure. Jim, the captain, Vermont, Albany, -12. Can Albany slow down Vermont?
I don't want to get in the way of Vermont. I actually took Albany in the first meeting and they covered barely at Vermont. And I have no appetite to do it again. It felt dicey the whole time. Vermont doesn't miss shots. They're shooting 46% from deep in league play. And that's in 11 games. It's not some small sample size aberration. They get great shots and they knock them down. I can't get in the way of Vermont again.
Ryan Mercer asks about Merrimack and Wagner. Merrimack's really bad, and I've had him overrated all season. I lean towards Wagner here. Jim, for you, since you grew up in Wisconsin is hosting Rutgers, and they're -8.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin gets a nice performance here. Rutgers is bad on the road. They had a very emotional win last game. And they wiped out Michigan State last weekend, also at the rack. I like the Kohl Center advantage here for the badge. I think they win by double digits.
Matt, you love George Washington in general. 15.5 points seems like a lot against Dayton, right?
I'm on them again today. They've, I believe, covered like 4 of the last 5. Yeah, they played a lot better. It seems like I've been waiting for George Washington to play good the last 3 seasons, and now finally it's happening. So yeah, I'm going to continue to ride this streak. Worried about a domination on the glass. Dayton destroyed them inside first meeting, but I think they play a little more competitively today.
Jim, speaking of teams that might be good now, Idaho State +11.5 going to Eastern Washington. What do you think?
Idaho State's not good, but Eastern Washington's off the big Weber win where they rallied late. I think they had a 10-0 run in the final 4 minutes or something. So hard to think that they are just as up for this one, but man, Idaho State has not been fun to back this year. We have not been on the right games where they've actually played well. So big old stay away for me until I figure out the Bengals.
All right, 3MW top 10 fan has 3 for us, so we'll each take one. Texas State is going to Louisiana Monroe. I like the under in this game. That's my take in that one.
I like Texas State. Line feels short. Go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
you like Texas State? That's
I
all
also
right.
like the under.
Good. Some consensus there. Matt Hofstra, Delaware, -1 for the Pride. I was disappointed. I was hoping we get them as dogs.
Yeah, I think people are picking up the Painter situation. Dylan Painter not playing for Delaware. I think he means a lot, even though Carr's been pretty good up front without him. I like Hofstra. I think the better team. Home court is, to me, negligible in this game.
Yeah. Hempstead, New York, Matt, down to Delaware. And Jim.
Hi, I'm in Delaware.
A big game in the Southland. Corpus Christi going to Nicholls State. 6-point spread for the Colonels.
Yeah, the Islanders have been a pretty good dog this year. They did not cover last game against New Orleans, despite being up at halftime. Very, very frustrating for me. But I kind of think they hang around here. Nicholls has been good, but not elite in conference play. So I think this is closer to a coin flip than the spread implies.
Making really good progress here. Jim, you went to Grand Canyon. They're -8 on the road to Dixie State. Too low, too high?
Maybe a little too low. Grand Canyon couldn't score last weekend when I saw them. Nothing was going in from the perimeter, at least until late. I like the over. I think overs are a really good bet here. Dixie State overs seem like they're pretty good value. They're sprinting up and down in conference play. Their possession length is really, really short. Yeah. I think Grand Canyon also playing a little bit faster. Over, big fan of that one.
Noah says Montana, Portland State. I think Montana covers. I think it's a bit short, but Portland State's been feisty in conference play lately, so a little bit scared of that one. Matt from Aaron, Miami of Ohio, Bowling Green. Fading Miami has been profitable, he says, without Delonte Brown in the lineup.
It's been the greatest bet in the world.
Yeah, and now they're -1, Matt, against Bowling Green.
No bet here for me. Miami, I can't believe how bad Miami got so quickly without Brown. So yeah, I guess I'd lean Bowling Green, but I mean, just on a pure handicapping basis, if you had Brown in the lineup, I think Miami should be favored by 3 or 4. So it's tough to kind of like wrestle between that.
Bowling Green also idiots, hard to trust.
Yes, they are.
Don't bet this game. Pass. Next game.
Jim, Vanderbilt +11.5 at Tennessee. This felt high to me. I almost took them.
Bandy boys.
Yeah. They got Robbins back in there. I think they're a little bit feisty with him and Chapman, of course. I've said multiple times on this program how much I think he means to the Commodores. Don't love Tennessee laying big numbers. Definitely lean Bandy.
Matt, how about VCU? Spread's actually gone up. -2.5 now for George Mason. Did we talk about this game?
We did not.
Last show.
Last show.
Go ahead.
One of our many shows were so popular. VCU here. I mentioned this on the show. VCU has won at Vandy, at Dayton, at Davidson, at Richmond, at Syracuse. They are road warriors. And I'm sorry, George Mason has just gotten a little bit overpriced in the market right now, even though they have Joshua Drew back.
Drake Bradley. I like Drake here, +2. Lean their way.
It's gotten bet down, but I agree. It's got bad value now, but I think it's a great spot.
Jim, the total in Omaha, South Dakota State. Are you brave enough to take the over?
I kind of think you almost have to. I don't see how this game has any stops, but you basically need 5 points a minute to hit the over. So it's a little nerve-wracking, but there could be a 100-point half in this game. So I'm leaning towards the over.
Matt, shame on us for not touching this one in the outline. Oklahoma is back in the tourney picture. They're at Kansas, 10.5-point spread.
I don't like you subtweeting my outline there.
Ooh, you guys can battle it out. I think this is a little short. I know Oklahoma's a feisty dog. I think Kansas is, was it -10.5, -11 if I'm checking?
10.5.
Yeah, I would lean Kansas.
Jim, St. Mary's, Gonzaga, 16-point spread.
God, it's so high.
I think Gonzaga blows them out. I think they're the Ken Palm article from Thursday basically said they have the best scoring margin in conference ever. And I think last year's team also had that for a little while. They're outpacing even that. They are just blowing teams away. St. Mary's major athleticism edge for Gonzaga. I think St. Mary's probably hangs around for a half, and then we see a little more extension in the second half.
Best scoring margin in this conference, which is the best conference it's been, right? WCC at an all-time high. Pretty wild.
I'm leaning Air Force against San Diego State +18.5. That's a lot of points for Air Force.
Especially the total is like 114.
Yeah. Jim, Wyoming, -13 at San Jose State. Can Tim Miles get the boys going?
That's high.
Yeah. San Jose State's beat up. They've got some guys out, but Wyoming going on the road after 4 straight big games, big wins, close games. I don't know how they continue to just keep playing that well. and they don't really feel built to totally blow out a team in a bad spot like this. So lean towards a bad San Jose State team.
That Washington is like 8-4 in the Pac-12. They're hosting Arizona, 14.5 point spread.
Arizona, like the Pac-12 was a perfect playground to be really bad and then somehow figure it out. Like Washington would be like 2-9 in the SEC or 3-10 in the Big 12. It's like, oh, it's the Pac-12. You get juicy home spots. No, they're not that good. Arizona wipes them.
Terrell Brown went nuts at Arizona in his little revenge game. First time around, I could see him dominating again today.
All right, 3 more than we got best bets here. Utah at Colorado, Jim, +5.
Love Utah. I think Colorado without Eli Parquet is not that good. The altitude shouldn't bother Utah at all. There's a team that plays at altitude constantly. They're starting to trend up a little bit, I think. Maybe that's wishful thinking because I like Craig Smith, but 5's too many. I think this game should be like 2 or 3. So
we always back Utah. But yeah, I'm on Utah. I know. Sorry.
Arlington, Louisiana. Gosh, I don't know. I don't have a side.
I'm over Louisiana. They don't protect the ball. Their defense is oddly not trustworthy, despite the fact that they have like monsters up front. No, I'm out on Louisiana, Kai. I should be back them, but I'm not.
Matt, you get Fordham Duquesne +3 for Fordham. I lean towards Fordham.
I don't. Duquesne should have won that first game. They got beat on a buzzer beater. I can get to the minds of the Dukes. Although we've also cited the fact that we think this Duquesne team is a sell high or sell.
And they're kind of whatever. Bad locker room stuff going on there.
Yes, exactly. So
all right,
I think
last
Fordham
one
has more fight.
Fordham has more fight. I totally agree with that. Jim, last one. Tulane, Temple -4.5. Tulane.
Really like Tulane here. I think Temple's got backcourt injuries. Jeremiah Williams left last game with a boo-boo. You can't do that, or you can't have that against Tulane's trapping zones. I think Tulane puts up a really good effort back home here. The matchup plays up for them. Temple can't really shoot, and you have to be able to shoot against the zone. I like the Green Wave. I like the way they've been trending. Sorry to Harry, our resident Temple loyalist, but I'm a Tulane guy here.
All right, let's go to best bets, guys. Let's do it.
Right.
I'll start us off.
Lead us off, yeah.
Florida State, North Carolina, under. It's now 145 at BetRivers. I'll take it. Without Anthony Polite in lineup, Florida State has scored 0.77 points per possession and 0.79 points per possession. We've had 2 straight easy unders without him. They're not going to score very easily against UNC. It's a strictly personnel play for Florida State here because we saw UNC put up a lot of points against NC State at home. A little scared to do it again, but I don't think Florida State scores very much. So under 145 for me.
Mateo, your turn.
Memphis, Penny and the boys. I don't love that Houston got beat last game. Maybe it sets up for a potential angry spot for the Cougars, but I think Memphis matched up pretty well with Houston. Played them close twice last season, and they have all their horses back, save the one who I think is somewhat cancerous, Amani Bates. So it's basically the perfect roster for Memphis intact. And you look at their best performances this year, it lines up directly with who's playing right now. I think 10's way too many. So I got Memphis +10 and looking late night. You know, I'm a sucker for my bows. So heading out to the island. Just think this line's way too short. I think it should be closer to 3 or 4. It's at -1.5 right now. Take the money line. Wake and Cake.
Wake and Cake. I like Wake and Cake. Jim,
yeah, you certainly aren't staying up for that one. You saw
No. I'll be asleep.
I'm joining Kai with an under at DePaul Providence under 132.5. Love DePaul unders when Javon Freeman Liberty is out, and it sounds like he still will be with that groin injury. There's obviously a little bit of DePaul revenge angle after they got murdered at home by Providence in the first one. I think this one stays a little more half-courty. I mean, DePaul, Georgetown didn't even fly over, and Georgetown's defense stinks. So I think this game's going to be half-court, kind of a drag-out brawl. Just a little worried about Providence beating them up inside. And also Providence knows they need to amp up their predictive metrics for seeding purposes. So worried about that, but I think the under is still a good bet. And then lastly, aside for Saturday, Bryant -2.5 taking on LIU. There are better numbers available in the market, but my guys at BetRivers have -2.5. So that's what I'm going with. I think the Bulldogs are just a beast in the NEC. They got Peter Kiss back last game. He and Charles Pride just went absolutely nuts. And I think they do that again here. This game's going to be weirdly contentious because last game, I think there were like 5 ejections, including LIU's coach and their best player. Bryant had multiple ejections of their own. There was double-digit technicals in the first meeting. So this is going to be a weird game, but Bryant's just better. LIU's not consistent enough to trust. So -2.5, the Bulldogs. That's it.
Battle of the Mafiosos, baby. Grasso and Kellogg. Who's like the Steve Carell? My dad used to have that.
Who can grease their hair back more?
Yeah. Right.
All right, that is it. That's our show. That's our Saturday show. Spinny Saturday. Spin them up, fellas. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy all 150 games. Try to watch every one if you can. I dare you. But that's it. We will be back on Monday. No Super Bowl Sunday show. Very light slate. Go Bengals.
Go Bengals.
Go Bengals.
But that is it. Thank you to BetRivers. Thank you to Zach, our producer behind the scenes. Thank you to the Field of 68. And again, we'll see you Monday.